Hi everyone, it's Nichol Spohr for Simon Says Stamp, and today we're going to be creating some UnFROGgettable shaker cards with components from the Simon Says Stamp August 2021 card kit called Toadally Unfrogettable. I am going to be pairing a lot of components from the August kit with a couple of my favorite Hero Arts fancy dies. We are going to be die cutting this first one. This is the Through the Woods Window fancy die. And then we're also going to be using the Mushroom Forest fancy die. So what I wanted to kind of do here and what inspired me was the adorable frogs in the Toadally Unfrogettable stamp set. I wanted to create some sort of scene for them and then be able to use the shaker components, the acetate, the googly eyes, all of that good stuff included in the kit. I am using the Neenah 110-pound weight solar white cardstock included in the kit. These two panels here were trimmed to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And then I am die cutting the fancy die window from each of those panels. So this is going to be the front of the card. Each of these die cuts a really cute little scene. And then I took the stamps from the Toadally Unfrogettable stamp set and I'm kind of just laying them out, making sure everything is going to fit perfectly. I was contemplating maybe using a basic rectangle there. I opted not to. Then you're getting about a half sheet of acetate in the kit. This is not heat resistant acetate, so you're not going to be able to heat emboss on this because it's not resistant to that heat. But I'm going to show you my favorite tip for getting around that. Because we're getting a half sheet, I just kind of trimmed it a little bit smaller than the window, probably about 4 by 5 1/4 inches. And we're going to use that on the back of each window. So we're going to just set that aside for a minute and go ahead and stamp our components for our card. And from the Toadally Unfrogettable stamp set, we are using 2 frogs, the bow tie, the crown, a ladybug, and a fly. And then we're going to be using quite a few sentiments. Now the only images that I'm actually going to fussy cut, so stamp, color, and fussy cut, are the 2 frog images, the crown, and the bow tie, and and the lily pad. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. I'm stamping all of my images with Hero Arts INTENS-IFIED black ink. This is a Copic friendly ink, and then I'm going to color them in with some Copic markers. I have listed those colors across the top of the screen for easy reference. I am starting with the frog. I did start with a really light base color with G20. I'm probably going to cover up most of that. I felt like it was just a little too light. Sometimes that's just the way it goes. So I laid down my dark color. I kind of traced around with a lighter color, then a mid-tone color, if you will, and then kind of back over the whole thing with G21. So G20 was what I started out with, and I'm actually going to go ahead and do that here for the rest of the frog. I'm not having to be super careful about staying in the lines since I will be fussy cutting these images. If fussy cutting is not your thing, generally, it's not my thing either. There are coordinating dies that are a separate purchase that you can pick up if you would like to. So that is a fantastic option as well. I will say, as much as I don't enjoy fussy cutting, I love the look. I think it works really, really great on these cards because there's no white outline, which really blends nicely into the frames, which I'll show you as we get to that part of the coloring of the project. So I'm going to go over the frog a couple times. This is the beauty of coloring with Copics, is the paper's not going to pill as many times as you want to go over it until you get the coloring just right. The first frog took a little bit more time than the second frog as I was just kind of working out some of the kinks and figuring out how I wanted to color this guy. It's been a minute since I've used some Copic markers, so it was really fun to kind of dive back in and color with these markers. I ended up really loving the frog. I think he's super cute. I am going to add a little extra detail. I'm going in and adding some darker areas. I'll add some little dark spots kind of naturally where some of the other spots already are on the frog from the stamped image. And we will work all of that out These are really cute images. I love them. The bow tie I'm going to color with a combination of red markers in R24, 46, and 39. We're not using a ton of different color combinations here. Pretty simple coloring. The same red color combination will also be used for the ladybug and the mushrooms when we get to that. For the crown, we're using YR31 and 23. I like the accessories. I like that they're separate so that you can add them or not. There's also tons of bugs, lots of different sentiments, so you really can kind of mix and match. For the lily pad, I'm using a different green color combination. We're using YG21 and 17. This will also be the color combination that I use for leaves or greenery, depending on the frame. Both of those are going to use that same color combination. We're going to quickly color in the other frog and then the ladybug on top of its head, and then we will fussy cut these images. I am going to fussy cut the images off camera to save a little time, since it's simply taking scissors and trimming these guys out. If you don't like to cut right up next to the black line, you can always leave a little white edge around them as well to kind of make it look like they were die cut with the coordinating dies. Now, the only place on these images that it's really going to make a difference and it makes it a little hard to fussy cut is the ladybug's antennae and legs. I'm not going to worry about either of those. I'm actually going to cut those off and discard them. And I will show you how I get around that and how I fix that on the first card, because we're going to actually stamp on the acetate window with Stazon ink and layer that guy on. I think it works a lot better than leaving the white edge or trying. I would not be successful trying to cut around those teeny tiny little black pieces. I think that they would probably get cut off or torn off. And so this is my favorite little hack for using those when you're not using the coordinating die and you can't really cut around them. So now we're going to color in the ladybug. As I mentioned, we are going to use the same reds that we used for the bow tie. That's going to be our 24, 46, and 39. We will be using a little warm gray as well for the face and the spots on the ladybug wings. That's going to be warm gray 5 and 7. And then I do want to add some little teeny tiny pink cheeks to our ladybug. It gives a little more character to the face. That is going to be with R20, and I just take the very tip of my marker and touch that to the cheeks because it's a pretty small image, but it will kind of wick and move away the dark gray and leave you with some little pink cheeks for that ladybug. Now this is that Hero Arts frame. This is the Through the Woods window fancy die. I am only using YG21 and 17 here to color those leaves around the frame, and I'm just very, very quickly going around them with my markers, kind of flicking and feathering in my darker color over the lighter color. There's not a ton of coloring on the first frame here, and that's okay. It's just going to give you that nice illusion kind of greenery, kind of like the frog is sitting on a little lily pad, maybe in some water. That's the look we're going for. The rest of our greenery is going to come from our pattern paper included in the August kit, which I have trimmed down to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. This paper is the Simon Says stamp Build a Frog, PhotoPlay custom 6x6 paper, pardon me. So that is that green paper you see in the background. I'm using tone on tone for both cards. I did place some double-sided adhesive on the back of my frame, and then I placed the acetate, which was trimmed a little smaller, back behind here. Now before I add any foam adhesive, I want to take a sentiment from the stamp set. I'm lining it up in my MISTI in case I have to stamp it more than once, and I am taking my favorite Stazon ink, which is the cotton white, and stamping it right on that acetate window. When you place it over something dark, it is going to show that awesome sentiment. So now I kind of need to figure out placement for my images. You can see I have them trimmed out over here. The reason I am getting my placement before before adhering them, pardon me, is I need to stamp that ladybug right where it's going to go on my card. And I am not even going to ink up the whole thing with the black Stazon ink, only the top of my frog, because I need those antennae and legs. Once I have that, I can go ahead and finish my scene on the front of the card. I'm going to glue my frog down first. I'm so sorry, I needed to get over the top of it, so my head is in the way. And then the lily pad he's sitting on is gonna go next, since I need that to kind of slide under him. I am using liquid adhesive to adhere everything, so I wanna get that down in place before the glue has dried. We'll use an acrylic block to help hold it down flat. Then I'm gonna put a little glue right on top of the ladybug. You can see my little ladybug that I cut out is missing its legs and antennae, but when you place it back on the card, there they are, and it looks perfect. There's no white outline. I love this trick. In the kit, you're also getting a package of googly eyes that are going to fit the frogs perfectly. One little tip for these is they do have adhesive back, but I don't think the adhesive back is as strong as I would like it to be. So I peel off the adhesive back and go ahead and use a little liquid adhesive to glue those eyes in place. I'm using some tweezers to just help me peel off that little adhesive backing before placing the eye right on the frog. How cute is that little image? It's starting to come to life. So I'm just using my acrylic blocks again to help hold everything down while our glue is drying. We want to add a couple of additional images. This frame doesn't have as much going on as the mushroom frame, so it's the perfect spot to use some extra images from the Toadally Unfrogettable stamp set. We're going to use the other ladybug image and also a little fly image from the stamp set. We're going to stamp those with the Hero Arts Intensified black ink, and then I am using a bee trail, or it can be a ladybug or fly trail in this case, from the Simon Says Stamp Be Happy set. Any stamp set that has a little trail will work for this. I just wanted to be able to add a little extra interest to my frame. Then we're going to go ahead and color these images in with our Copic markers really quickly before we assemble our shaker. So again, a little R24, 46 and 39 for the red of our ladybug, and warm gray 5 and 7 for the gray parts. For our fly, we will use the warm gray 5 and 7 again, and then just maybe a little light blue violet, barely touched to the wings to give it a little bit of touch of color. And then also included in the kit, you're getting my favorite foam adhesive strips. These are low profile, they're super skinny, they're awesome for sentiment strips. I use these almost every single time I create a card. We're gonna frame up our shaker frame now with our foam adhesive. And I wanna make sure it's all butted up next to each other so that the shaker material doesn't come out of the card, because we are gonna fill our shaker with the Trinity Stamps Frog embellishments. I used all of the embellishments that you get in the kit between these two shakers. If you're kind of wondering how far it will go, I split it in half, and I'm going to use half of it in the first shaker and half in the other. So I'm going to separate it because this is low profile foam adhesive and I'm not doubling it up. I want to make sure the shaker stuff still moves. And then I placed the backing right over that. That's that pattern paper included in the kit to encase our shaker. And then we will glue this right to the front of a top fold card base to finish the card design. I did go ahead and go in with a white pen, and I'll add a little white pen detail to the frogs, to all of the little images there. Let's color in our Hero Arts mushroom frame. So this is a mushroom forest fancy die. This is probably one of my favorite fancy dies from Hero Arts. I love this one. I'm coloring in the greenery for the leaves, the grass, any of that kind of thing with YG 21 and 17. And and I'm doing really speedy coloring. We just need a hint of the scene here. We don't have to completely cover it. Something else I want to mention, you'll notice that the windows for these are both pretty good size. They fill up most of the front of an A2 size card, and I didn't place my images for my scenes inside the shaker. They're sitting on top of the acetate window. That's really purposeful. I have found that I love the look of a shaker, but I don't always love that the shaker material completely covers up something I've colored. And so I've really loved trying to find ways to incorporate my images on the front while you can still see the shaker happening in the background. I think it's a really cute look. Our mushrooms are all going to be red. Keeping it simple are 24, 46, and 39. The stems are all E55 and 57. In certain places like the tree trunk, I maybe went in with a little E53. It just depended. I feel like my E55 marker needs refilled. It wasn't quite as juicy as it needed to be, and so I just went with a little bit lighter marker color, and I will refill it a little bit later. You can see here it's just not blending as well as it normally does. I refill this marker quite a bit. E55 and E57 get used a lot. For me, they're kind of my go-to browns, and so it probably just needs a little refill. Once I kind of have the bigger images, I can go back in and just kind of color in here and there anywhere I've missed. So you'll see repetition of a lot of colors that you maybe have already seen, fixing a few little things like drawing that tree trunk down the side a little bit more, adding extra greenery and whatnot. You can color these any way you want to. So I'm just kind of fixing some of the quick coloring, things that don't look great, adding in a couple more mushrooms maybe here and there. And there is our frame over the navy tone-on-tone background, adding a little detail with our darkest red marker. I always like little spots if you want a little extra detail. Now this frame has a lot more color to it, and I'm going to leave in a mistake that was made. It's not necessarily a mistake, but I thought that my images were going to take up a lot more of the window than they were. I really wanted to use the You Are Totally Awesome sentiment from the stamp set, but it doesn't fit the window great. But I can mix and match those two, the You're Totally little phrase that you can see there and the word awesome, and I can do a much smaller sentiment. So I am going to leave this. I'm going to mask off the part of the sentiment I don't want to stamp with my white Stazon ink. I stamped awesome there, and then I'm going to clean that stamp and move it and use the little smaller phrase right above that. And I'm so sorry my head's in the way. I'm trying to get it lined up perfectly and perfectly straight. I do stamp that with the cotton white Stazon ink, and it looks great. I like it, but it's just kind of small, and it's really cute. I totally could have left it, but I ended up not loving it. So if you want to remove that after you've kind of already committed, you can always take a little cleaner. I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Ultra Clean Cleaner here and a microfiber cloth. I just put a little dab on my cloth and I erased it off of my acetate window. It's going to erase anything on there, but it will take off your Stazon ink. So if you want to start over, and I am going to start over because my images actually ended up being a lot lower than I thought, and I think I can fit the bigger text that's going to take up more of the window, and I think it'll look better. But you can see it's not going to work as is, so I'm still going to need to mix and match, but we're going to be able to stamp Totally Awesome in the window. So again, I'm sorry, my head is in the way. I'm lining that up so it's straight. The Totally Awesome part, we're going to mask off the You Are, ink this up with the cotton white Stazon ink. So I'm just going to take a couple pieces of Post-it tape, hold those, place those there to mask off the part I don't want to ink up. If I would happen to ink up part of it, you could always erase it with like maybe a Q-tip and some of the Ultra Clean Cleaner. That will take it off as well. But you just want to be careful because you don't want to erase what you've just stamped. I'm going to stamp Totally Awesome right there. I love it. That fits really nice, and I feel like it takes up more of the window, which is what I was going for. I like the combination of fonts here. I'm going to then remove that. We are going to have to piece together sentiments again. This time we're going to take the You're Totally, so which we used the first time, but we're only going to use the word You're. So we will mask off the part we don't need and stamp that right on our window. And now we have our custom sentiment that fills the space perfectly. We're ready to assemble. So I have tucked my frog kind of down into the mushrooms and the greenery along the bottom of the card. Part of him is back behind, part of him is in front. And I'm just going to glue him down in place. I really like this. I think it's kind of cute. Then we're going to glue the little crown to his head, the bow tie underneath there right on his chest. I like all the little customization. And then we'll flip it over and place some of our foam adhesive on the back. Remember, you're getting this foam adhesive in the kit. It is so awesome. I love it. And then we'll fill the shaker well with the rest of the Trinity Stamps Frog embellishments. I like to peel off the backing first in case because I tend to bump the shaker a lot and I don't want to bump all of the shaker material out. I'm going to spread it out with my fingers, place the trimmed down pattern paper right on the back to frame it up, and there is our second shaker. Now we do need to finish the eyes. I am going to add those googly eyes. I'm going to add some white pen detail to all of the images here, including the mushrooms in the frame, the leaves, all that good stuff, and of course our frog. But I love those little googly eyes. They add they're the perfect touch for frog stamps, I think. And then just taking my white pen, adding all of that great little detail, and then we will take this shaker and place it on a white top fold card base as well. I really loved too, the kit comes with a lemon chiffon A2 envelope and also a soft navy A2 envelope. I feel like these match our cards perfectly, so the card with the navy background is going to get the soft navy envelope, and the card with the green, kind of yellow green, is going to get the lemon chiffon envelope. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these 2 unforgettable shaker cards featuring the August 2021 card kit from Simon Says Stamp. Please be sure to visit the Simon Says Stamp blog for more information. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.